What's up YouTube, Jay Traveling here, and today we got a special one for you. AAAwave frame was kind enough to send me their Sluice V2 crypto mining frame. So this is a 12 GPU frame that we will be building today. So I needed the frames pretty much. I have a lot of graphics cards sitting off to my left or my right here. Then I need to get onto a frame pretty much, which is what I was short on. They were kind enough to send me this. So I'm going to get it built up. So then hopefully later on in the week I can get another rig going. But I'm going to move this box out of the way. This is the box that it came in. It's pretty thin. Has some weight to it. I mean, it feels like a pretty solid frame here. I got all the parts laid out on the counter here or on my desk. But I mean, they don't feel like it's cheaply made at all. And it feels like it's going to be a very sturdy frame here. So I'm going to put this box on the ground here. And you can see in the picture behind me what it's going to look like when it's done. So it does come with the instructions. I mean, pretty detailed enough. Now, I have seen reviews where people say the instructions aren't that great. Anyone that has any type of building experience or building frames will look at this instructions and it's pretty straightforward. The box of hardware that it came with, now mine came a little banged up, but that's to be expected when you're dealing with parts like this. I mean, heavy parts inside of a smaller box. So a little bag of standoffs that I won't be putting on today. A bag of screws. These are motherboard screws, so they are for the standoffs there. A power button. Now I have a bunch of these, but these are always great to have. Most of my mining rigs, I program the motherboard though to boot on upon regaining power. A bag of screws. Now I do like these ones. One, you can use a small wrench on this to put them on, or just your regular Phillips head screwdriver. And these screws are pretty much the ones you'd mount your power supply with. But it's the same screws for the entire frame, which is very nice. I do like that a lot about this frame, and I have seen this in videos before, because if you've ever built a vetted frame, you're looking at different bolts and screws and this and that and trying to figure it out. And then the little rubber feet, which is nice because when I have this set up on my desk here, it won't be scratching the crap out of it. So these little rubber feet are a nice added little touch. So let me get this box out of the way. And one last thing, this is a little tabs to mount a power supply. That's what these are for. So I won't be putting these on because I plan on using server power supplies. At least in this video I won't be putting these on, but these are easily, you screw them right onto the front of this. But you can always do that later if you decide that you want to use them. So let me move this, I'll actually leave that there. Let me move this box and bag out of the way. And now the first thing I will be doing is putting the little rubber feet on. According to the instructions, that's the first thing you do, and I'm just going to do it now. So I'm going to make sure this one has like a fatter screw hole that I'm putting on. These ones are pretty much standard, so I'm just going to put it on this way. Now it looks like these rails are pretty much screwed out so that you can't really mess up which side you put them on. Some frames that I built, not bought, you know, when you're screwing the holes into them and custom making yours, you can really get messed up pretty quickly of where stuff's supposed to go when you're building a custom frame. But custom builded mining frames is pretty fun, so I'd recommend doing one if you haven't done one before, just out of wood, just to get the experience. Otherwise, frames like these are really, really useful. Now this frame, I will have a link in the description, and also a $15 coupon code in the description. But let's get some more of these parts. And then this bar is to mount across. So I'm going to put that off to the side for now. These will go off to the side for now, and this one will go off to the side for now. And then the next ones, we'll open up the instructions here and look through it. The next ones I believe I will need are these four. Now these, it really shouldn't matter, but they're going to screw into the frame here, just like so, just here, and then I'll have another post here and we'll screw those in, and then I'll have pretty much both sides ready to go. So this can get put off to the side here, and we'll move this just a tad, and now I'll have to start digging into the screws to screw this together. Like I said, we'll put these here and here, so it's pretty much just going to attach two of these posts together, so it's going to be in like groups of two. And then after that is when we'll be looking to attach it to the base of the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and get these screwed together, and then I'll be right back with the build. So this first step's pretty much done, or second step according to the instructions. So just a couple more screws to tighten up here. Now when I do build stuff like this, I don't just crank this every screw tight right away. I leave pretty much all of them loose and then tighten them once I get all of them in at the time. So now you can see that I have two of these pretty much the same. So they're gonna sit kind of just like this, and the bottom piece is the next thing to go in down bottom. Now when I put this bottom piece in, I'm gonna leave all the screws loose on it that I put in, because when I put the bars in, I want to make sure I have a little bit of wiggle room, just so that I can get it like tightened up properly and get it lined up right. If I just go in and I just tighten these all the way up, it may be not completely level, so I can't get the other screws in perfectly, which we always want to get the best leveling that we can when we build this stuff. So right now I'm gonna just move these out of the way, because these are crossbars that go in here for GPU mounting, and that's what the riser is going to sit on. So I'm just going to put them there, because my next step, and then these four pieces I can move out of the way. And now in the instructions, all these pieces are labeled, so you don't have to just like kind of look to figure it out. It'll show you what they are, and pretty much you can figure out what they're used for. Now this piece, this is going to be a little tricky because of where it is, because it's going to stay up a little bit. So I'm going to be mounting it pretty much like this, up a little bit. So we'll look at the instructions also. You always want to, like, if you're not used to building this stuff, because this is my first one I'm building, you always want to like refer to the instructions to see where they're putting stuff, just because you do have to mount it pretty much, if you, in a sense. So if you mount it in the wrong hole or something along the frame, your screws just aren't going to line up, and you're going to be scratching your head why. So you can always refer to the instructions. Some people I know never want to refer to instructions, but you also have pieces like your motherboard cutout here, where you want to make sure it's in the right spot, where it looks like it's going to mount just like this. Now right now it probably doesn't matter as much because we're so early on in the build. It's pretty much when you're mounting these bars is when you're really going to want to refer to it, especially when you mount that one with the AAAwave logo on it. You want that to be nice and flashy and facing out. So I'm going to go ahead and start screwing this in. Now I'm using this piece just to prop this up a little bit so I'm not holding it. And then I can just pick up the other piece and then slowly put some screws into it. Because I'm going to want to get, it looks like 2 screws in the back, 2 screws on this side, and up front, two screws and 2 screws in the front to hold this piece on. Now that's a lot of screws a little bit, kind of. But you also want that support, so it's good that AAAwave frame added that many just to keep the support on this piece, because 1 screw may not be enough. Now I get that we're not using like heavy motherboards or something, so it shouldn't break these. These screws feel pretty nice and solid, but you know, you always want as much support as you can. That's why I like this crossbar that's going to be going in it across like this. I mean, because a lot of my other rigs don't have support on the risers at all. So what I'm going to do now is, you kind of see how I'm putting these screws in. There's just two up here, so kind of doing this one blindly, but I can feel out kind of where this screw is going to go. But I'm going to just go ahead and get all these screws in, and then we'll be right back. So this one, obviously this piece is going to come out and go on this side. So when I come back, I'll have that pretty much together. So it's starting to come together, the frame. I got the base in now. All of these screws at the base here are still a little bit loose. It's enough that it's holding together. I can pick it up, move, but you can see how it's wiggling a little bit. This side's a little tighter, but the next step would be to put our fan bars on. Now, these are labeled as D in the instructions here, and you can tell because they have the hole here and then two right side by side in the middle, and the hole on the side. So this makes it a little different than the GPU mount ones, which are pretty much the dead giveaway in a GPU one, because this is going to hold your GPUs, because it'll screw into the top. One says AAAwave across the top, and the other one just looks just like it without that logo. So that's a good giveaway. So I'm going to mount these on the side, as you can see, with the motherboard hole here. I'm going to mount them on this side, so it's going to be closer to me, just like with that cutout for the motherboard. And they're just going to mount here. You'll see a little divot here with two holes that line up just for it, and then one here. There's also another one slightly lower that you can put it on. It's a personal preference at that point. But let's go ahead. I'm going to screw these in. So I need a couple of screws, and I'm going to go with the lower one first, even though it's going to start blocking my face. But one of the reasons I left the bottom still a little bit loose is for this reason. I wanted a little bit of room to work with to move and shift bars, just so I can have an easier time getting this stuff in. Sometimes if you just tighten it too much, and there I go, dropping screws. Sometimes if you just tighten it too much right off the start, you won't have that wiggle room. You're going to end up going back and loosening it just so you can make a tiny little bit of a shift in order to get something to tighten properly, or even just to be able to line the screw up with the pre-drilled screw hole. Especially with stuff like this, when you're working with pre-drilled, you know, when you're doing a custom mining frame, you may not be pre-drilling all your holes where you'll have a little bit more room, but I mean, this is all pre-cut, pre-drilled, ready to go pretty much. So I'm going to leave those a little bit loose also, and I'm going to pretty much at the end go back and tighten them all up. So now I'm going to put the top one in, and these are pretty much going to be set up for, I think it holds, as you can see in the picture behind me, 4 120mm fans each row. Now I do have fans I can put on this. I'm not going to do it today, but once I get the cards on it, I'm going to see which fans I want to put on it. I do have some pretty powerful ones, and I do have some like little cheap up here ones that I can use, but it all depends on also what cards I end up putting on this. But I think this might be housing a 3090, so I may need some pretty powerful cards on it, just to cool that 3090 down. But these are pretty much in. I'm going to give them a little bit more tightening, but I'm not going to tighten them all the way. And then the next step is to put our GPU supports on, and they're going to go pretty much the same spots that I put this one on. Now the AAAwave will go up top, so I'm going to spin this frame a little bit so I can work with it. And you can see it's still a little wobbly, but let's go ahead and put these on. I'm going to start with the bottom one now. I'm going to go with the exact same spots. So here, oh, and up there. So get some screws and then we'll start screwing this in. Now so far, I mean, even though this is my first one, I haven't built a ton of Veta frames, but this build is actually getting built much quicker. So that is a plus as far as people looking to build frames, especially if they've never done it before. And some people may not have much experience with hands-on building. And this is pretty straightforward. If I had to rate it on difficulty of, 1 to 10, I'd probably put this at like a 3. I mean, once you have the parts distinguished, it's pretty straightforward. Even Veta frames, I mean, they can be a little bit of a pain, but they're not too crazy. I'd probably put them at like a 6 or 7. And then we're going to get this mounted. And then once this is on, it's pretty much GPU support bars, which are these. And those will go across these. So not too bad. But once I get this in, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up all my screws across the frame, because all my screws will be pretty much mounted and ready to go. So I'll show you guys and I'll tighten them up off camera. So we're pretty much and there's the frame pretty much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten up all the screws along the frame here that I left loose. It's all tightened up, ready to go. I did lower this GPU mount down. I had it mounted here and I just moved it down to here because it looks like that's where it's supposed to go. I did just a little bit too high, but now all I have left really is to mount these. Now there is a foam piece, so you just want to make sure that's up top. I do like that so that there's no metal to metal contact. But this is going to depend on your GPUs. You can mount them pretty much anywhere. So I'm going to mount them up like here just for now. But you can change these later, and like if you have longer GPUs or something, you can move them back. It's really gonna have your riser sitting on it, so it shouldn't be in a different spot really too many times. So I'm just gonna loosely put them on, spin this case around. Actually, before I do that, I'll put this side on, and I'm just gonna leave these loose for now because I'm probably gonna have to shift them just slightly when I get the GPUs mounted, which I'm gonna do in a separate video. I'm not gonna do it in this one. This is just a build video. So let's get this put on, and these just slide pretty much in there, and as you can see, it'll slide back and forth a little bit, or you can mount it here. You can put it in any one of these, but let's spin it so I can get the other ones in. And like I said, I'm going to leave these screws pretty much loose for now until I get the actual GPUs on it and know where the risers are going to sit, so I can sit it smack in the middle of them. So not only is that going to help support the GPU, but it'll give it a good center of gravity, if that makes sense. Now if you look at some of my other frames, I think Veta doesn't have, I don't think my Veta frame has it. My Kingwing one does. I think they sit on a bar. My custom built mining frames don't. The two I bought do. The guy actually installed them, which is nice. But there we go. So this case is complete. So there we go. This frame is finished now. Pretty solid looking. Seems to be sitting level. So that's nice. I got the rubber feeding on it. So it's looking pretty good for now. So I got the frame complete. Like I said, these are still a little loose, but the only thing I didn't put on are the standoffs for the motherboard. I'll do that when I put a motherboard on it because I don't know which one I'm going to use. And I still have screws left over. I have a lot of screws actually. So these, obviously I have them because I didn't put the GPUs on yet, so that makes sense. So they'll mount the GPUs on there. So my plan for this is to get 6 across the bottom and then 3 across the top. I have 3070s and 3070 Ti's I want to put on the bottom. I have a 3080 Ti and a 3090, and I'm looking for one more GPU for the middle, another 3090 or 3080 Ti possibly. But I'll go through some other things, and then also these screws go with this, and then the other thing I didn't use is this power supply mount. Now I could use it. It just looks like it just screws onto the fronts here. You'll like screw it into like it's on the other side, but you'll screw it in here, then it screws to the power supply to hold it. I'm probably gonna be using server power supply, so I'm probably just gonna put like a box down and put the power supply on top of it. Now I will use the motherboard standoffs and mount the motherboard. I will do that just because I like when I move it, the motherboard's not sliding around. A power supply I can just hold while I'm carrying it or something. But let's go through some things about this frame. I mean, so far I really don't have anything negative to say about it. I mean, it feels sturdy. It feels like really good quality. It uses the same screw on the entire frame, which is very nice. I do enjoy that a lot because I'm not switching between different size like Allen wrenches or something like that. Just one Phillips head screwdriver, I got the whole frame together. Now when I did put it together, I didn't crazily torque these down, and you don't really want to. As long as it's firm, it's firm. Don't go too crazy. Usually when you use these pre-drilled into aluminum like this, if you turn it too hard, you will strip it out. Now, other things I did, you don't want to cross thread it. So if it feels too tight when you're turning it, when you're first putting the screw in, don't just keep cranking on it. Back it out and redo it. Eventually you'll get it seated properly and it's going to screw in fairly easily. And other things like build technique I used was I left stuff loose until I felt like it was good enough to tighten. Usually when you're mounting multiple things, like I had 4 corners to mount here at the bottom, so I left it loose so I had a little bit of room to shift the base frame just so I can get the other pieces in and have the screws line up properly. Other things I like about it, I like the little mat that they put down on the GPU support where my risers are going to sit, because if you've ever used risers, that foam that they put on it is always falling off. So this adds a little bit more support to keep there from being less metal to metal contact. And you know, you don't want metal to metal contact, obviously that can short your entire rig out. And if you break a riser, you're gonna be looking for a while to figure that out. The fan bracket mounting system, I mean, it seems like it's gonna be okay. You don't need too much crazy support on a fan when it's just spinning. And then your GPU mounting. Now, when I build my own frames, I like to gap mine a lot. These look like they're gapped okay, but if you get a card with a really big cooler on it, like a lot of the 30 series, it looks like there may be like, it might be very slim with your gapping. But we'll go through that when I actually get cards onto it. So that's why it might be important for me to really mount some powerful fans on it. Now I do have some 3000 RPM fans that are, I think, push 150 CFM, but they are, from what I understand, really loud. I haven't used them yet. But I mean, that's the frame build. So far I like it. A nice touch that has zero to do with functionality is the rubber feeding. I do like that because now it's sitting on my desk and it's not scratching it up. Now this will probably be on like a rack or something, or just sitting on the floor in my basement for a little while until I get a fine tune. One thing I did notice and I was looking for is stackability of this frame. Now it is drilled at the top And if you take the feet off, it looks like it's drilled, but it doesn't have like any places that it looks like it may mount. I was hoping for stackability, but I don't know if it's there for this case or this frame. I would need a second one really to try it, but I may reach out to AAAwave frame and see what they say as far as stackability of this one. I know they do make some frames that are stackable, but you know, that's all I have for this video. We got the frame built. If you guys want this frame retails for $179.99 on AAAwave's website. I'll put a link in the description below. Also, there will be a coupon code for $20 off this frame if you would like it. You know, as far as my opinion, so far I like this more than a Veta frame. Obviously, I've got GPUs onto it. Veta frames are nice, but I do like how much I can get onto this one. My other Veta frame, that's 8 GPUs. They actually have less gapping, I believe, in their GPUs. So for the newer cards, it's a little tougher. But so far, I'm liking this frame. Once I get stuff put onto it, I'll make another video of me getting stuff onto this frame. Hopefully getting it powered up. I still need a few more parts. And then I'll give you a final review of everything I like, and if I dislike anything, I'll let you know in that video also. But thanks for checking this video out. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like, you know, my Mind Crypto hoodie, check out the store in the description below, the Teespring store. Get some merchandise down there, help support the channel. Thanks for checking this video out. Huge thanks for AAAwave frame, AAAwave for sending me this frame. You know, check their website out. They have other frames, they have GPUs and other mining hardware. Great company, go check them out. Help support them. And like I said, $20 off this frame with the discount code below. But next, check us out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned for more.